Hello, this tutorial is intended to assist you in evaluating resources during the research process. Whether you are using print or digital sources, you'll still need to consider which resources are actually the most useful for your research needs. In order to do that, let's review some key factors that will help you determine the effectiveness of a resource for your purposes. These factors include the purpose, authority, scope, currency, audience, format, objectivity, cost, and navigation options for your resource. Let's look at each factor a little more closely. First, let's consider the purpose of a source. Is your source intended to provide a historical overview? Is it for entertainment? Is it intended to persuade you? Consider what is the purpose of your resource and ensure that it matches your purpose for using it. Next, you'll want to consider if your source carries any authority. This is particularly important if you are relying on the resource for factual information. Government and educational resources are very useful in legal research, so looking for websites that end with .edu or .gov will be helpful. Also, original sources and primary sources are critical to ensuring that you are utilizing an authoritative source, so always try to find the original or primary resource. Let's consider scope. Scope can refer to the material covered in a specific resource, or the date range for that source. Both are relevant when addressing a legal issue, and both can help you determine quickly if the resource is actually useful for your purposes. With digital resources in particular, you may find a scope note included, which will assist you in determining the content of that particular source and therefore its relevance. Look for a scope note early to save yourself time. Also, reviewing the table of contents or index of any source can help you understand the scope of that source quickly and thoroughly. Next, you'll want to consider the currency of a source. When was your resource published? Was it published recently or during a time period that is relevant to your research? Also, consider how often a resource is updated. This can be achieved by looking at pocket parts, advanced sheets, scope notes, or an About Us section in a digital resource, which will help you determine how up-to-date your resource really is. The intended audience for a resource could affect how information is presented. This could lead to the simplification or complication of information based on who is supposed to benefit from it. You'll want to consider if you are the intended audience, and if your audience is also the intended audience for a particular resource. Next, you'll want to consider the format of the resource you are using. Is it accessible? Is it easy enough to navigate that it is actually helpful? Consider the time you must spend using the resource to help you evaluate if it is an appropriate resource for your research needs. Objectivity is an important factor, but always be aware that every source has some degree of bias, and that's okay. It still may be useful so long as you can evaluate that bias. Ask yourself, who is the author of this resource, and why may they be biased about the information they are presenting? This is relevant when considering many helpful resources come from advocacy groups, nonprofits, and even government resources, which may be biased in favor of a certain platform or party. These all may still be valuable resources. You'll just need to balance them yourself by considering the lens through which your source views the information they are presenting. No matter who is paying for your research, cost is an important factor. Whether billing clients, using a firm account to navigate a database, or even paying for research yourself, you'll benefit from considering which sources are readily available and cost-effective. This is particularly relevant when considering your need to ensure effective representation and how expensive legal research can be when using subscriptions and databases. Finally, let's talk about navigation options. Options to search using an index or table of contents, quick search tools, advanced search options, and a general logical organization can save you time and make a resource easy to navigate. Navigation options can make all the difference in searching for specific, relevant information. They can also help you determine how useful the presentation of information really is in a given source, considering your purposes. If you ever need assistance evaluating a resource or want to discuss these factors in depth, please stop by the library or reach out to us by email or phone. We would love to help you find the most useful resources in your preferred format. Thanks for watching!